Welcome to a Forum on Spirituality. I'm your host, Vicki Saputo, and every week I'll be interviewing a pioneer in spirituality, someone who's raised the level of consciousness of our community through their commitment to bringing the role of spirit into their lives and sharing it with us. And this week, our guest is Renee Gallegos. Renee Gallegos is an animal communicator who intuitively connects with animals by what she calls heart to heart and mind to mind. And she sends and receives thoughts and images and emotions with the animals. Now, whether they are living or they've died, she can connect and communicate with them spirit to spirit. And she coaches people to better understand the relationship with their animals on a deeper level that's beyond earthly. And she says that it's all about love and learning. Renee, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you back.
Thank you, Vicki. It's a pleasure to be back.
So how do you talk and receive messages from nature, like from water and air and earth and rocks and trees and plants and
all the elements
insects
and all the animals? Yes. Well, it's all alive, and they're all sentient beings. They have energy. It's all spirit. How do I connect? So I love to go out in nature. Do you ever go out and you feel that sense of calm?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I like to go horseback riding. To me, it's like a live meditation.
Just walking, hiking, horseback riding, connecting with the earth, Mother Earth, is very grounding. And it's so healthy for our spirit because we're all one. So when I connect with nature, I intentionally will go out and I'll sit in nature. I'll have a notebook because sometimes I like to take notes. And if there's something that I'm questioning, it could be personal, or if there's just something that I feel, if there's a message somebody want to share, and I'll ask, and I wait to see who shows up, and I'll journal it.
So what do you mean you ask?
I'll ask nature if I have if there's something they want to share. Say a scrub jay that I know.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking of this question. Someone had asked me, what do you think? Is there spirit? Is there soul? Are they two different things? What is that about? And there are some things that I have tossed that in my mind. And so I was thinking about this. And I thought, well, I'm just going to go to nature and I'm going to ask nature. And as I'm having this thought, there's a scrub jay that I know who just showed up and he answered it for me. And he said, spirit and soul are one. They're just two different words. And I take that as, that makes a lot of sense to me. And maybe there are just some things that we just don't need to know yet.
So you heard this in a voice?
Yes, I heard it in a voice. And I heard it and I'm like, who was that? It's the scrub jay. So I had to find a pen and what was that again? And I wrote it down. And it was that simple.
You should work for Disney.
Yes, right. That would be fun. Sure.
So how do you connect with the spirits of the earth? So all these things have spirit in them?
Yes.
Like
they're
rocks
alive.
have spirit in them and trees have
Sure.
spirit in them?
Sure.
And you call that the energy?
It's the energy. There's so many different names for the spirit of nature spirits. There are exercises to go out and actually introduce yourself to nature spirits and they will show up. You can see them.
Well, like, has a tree ever talked to you?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I have a story about a tree. There was somebody in my life who I just adored, and I knew that he was ill. And I had gone out for a walk one lunchtime, and I was walking past this oak tree. This was in San Rafael, California. And this oak tree, the energy just halted me. And the first thought that came through was, George has passed away.
Oh.
And I accepted that, and I continued my walk. And when I went back to where I was working at that time, I had received a phone call from a family member who actually validated that. And
wow.
So I listen. When things like that happen to me, I listen. So I've learned to go out and intentionally ask nature, are there any messages? And what else I've learned is nature usually gives you messages, very spiritual, deep messages. A lot of times nature will mirror you If there's an issue in your life, they will mirror you.
Like how? What would be an example of that?
Say you're questioning. Say you're questioning spirituality. Is there something, a choice that you want to make? Is this relationship healthy for me? And I'll go out and I'll ask. Or if somebody has passed away, help me to heal from this grief. I know all about grief process. What can I do? And there have been responses such as simple as time heals all. Patience. Be patient with yourself. Time heals all. So, okay, I'll trust that. What do I have to lose?
Now, what advice would you have, say, for example, for somebody that grew up in the city and they're not used to the country and they're kind of afraid of the animals and the insects and so forth?
I would suggest, first of all, go on a hike. Even go on a tour. So we live here in Marin County. Go to Muir Woods on a tour and get connected with the redwoods and all that exists. It's amazing. To get familiar, if you're not used to being in nature, get familiar with it. And the more you do it, the more relaxed. Ask when you go out in nature. Ask for a gift. Just ask for a gift.
The other thing that's coming to my mind when you say this is about peace. You know that song about "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me." So, like, if you can find peace within yourself. Now, so like the nature would help you to find that peace, or you would bring that?
Nature will help you to find that peace. And you can bring that as well, and it will just intensify the power of that, finding peace. Grounding, when I want to ground, when I just feel like I'm just overwhelmed with stuff of everyday life, I will just go out and it's a walk or just a little hike, and just get quiet, and I can feel myself, Mother Earth, just grounding me, and the trees, and the smell, the sounds of the birds. The birds are so playful. The blackbirds, I mean, they love to tease me, and I love that, and I just get playful with it because nature is playful. Nature's full of love, and all that we've done with Mother Earth, she's really doing her best to survive and to shift and to adjust. So you'll notice all of the weather has shifted. That's Mother Nature trying to heal herself. So there's a lot of learning. It's like, okay, maybe we should start paying attention on how we are in nature and what we're doing to protect her.
You know, the other night I had spoken with you on the phone.
Yes.
And then I was preparing what our interview was going to be, and I had just written the word insect. And I looked at the floor, and there was a spider crawling across my carpet. Now, I hate to admit this, but normally what I would do is get a tissue and pick it up and flush it in the toilet. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna try this thing, because you told me a story about a spider. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna try this. And I looked around like, what can I do? And I had a glass that I had just had some water that I had, and it was empty. So I said, okay, so I'm like thinking it to the spider to connect, because I'm intentionally trying to connect to the spider. So I asked the spider, I said, if you crawl into this glass, I'll take you outside. And you know how sometimes you can put something down to try to catch a bug and it keeps going different directions and it doesn't want to go inside where you want to get it. I just put it down and he went right in the glass. And I couldn't believe it.
That's great.
So I took him outside and, you know.
It can be that simple, yes. Yes.
But I really wanted to share that with you because
I love that. Thank you.
It was really pretty amazing. So what was the story that you have about a spider moving the web?
Oh, golly. Where I used to live, when I come out my front door, there are steps that go down, and there are two bushes on each side of the stairs. And one morning, I was running down, and I got spider web all in my head, right? And I wiped it off, and I turned around, and I'm like, oh my goodness, little spider. There's a spider. So anyway, the next day I did the same thing. Okay, I'm just trying to remember how the story goes. So day 3, because the next day, the same thing, I said, okay, hey, I'll probably forget tomorrow. So if you want to raise your web, then this won't happen. So I'm just going to put that out there. So the day 3, I'm coming running out again, and I went down the stairs, and I stopped, and I realized I didn't go through a spider web. So I turned around to look, and the spider moved her web higher. It was still there, but it was higher.
So you don't think she just figured it out, that you were going to walk into her web every day?
No, I don't. Because she could have gone somewhere else completely the first day. No. So, and I have another story about a blackbird. Can I share that really quickly?
Yes.
Okay. So this is when I'm testing the water. So one morning I went out to do a jog, and I thought, okay, there are all these little blackbirds. They love to tease me. I said, you know what, guys? I love feathers. I always find feathers, but I've never found a black feather. If you have one to spare, hey. So I'm doing my run, and I had forgotten about it. So on my way back, there was this blackbird sitting on the sidewalk, and he was making all this noise and this ruckus. And so I'm running up, and I stopped to say hi, and he flew off. And as he flew off, a black feather just kind of landed there on the sidewalk. And I still have that feather. I'll always remember that. So ask and you shall receive. So I'm starting to ask for other things now.
I'm wondering if there's things that people could do, like, for example, sometimes, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but sometimes people have wild animals that eat their plants or their garden, like deer or something. In our area, we also have a lot of wild turkeys, and none of those things bother me. I love them, but I know some people it bothers them. Do you think there's a way that they could communicate with them and tell them where they would like them to go?
Well, sure, you can communicate. You can communicate with the deer, say the deer, for example. And the deer, they're out there and they're just going to keep eating them, okay? So then you can ask, if I plant some for you, you can eat those and leave these for me. Let's compromise. There are different ways to communicate with animals, with nature. So that's one way. Yes, it's just like when you have pests, right? Like insects,
ants,
mice, ants. There's always one way. There's many different ways, but one way is to ask first and see what happens. Ask. Maybe you want to go that direction. Just go that direction because I really want to save these, these herbs for some special meals. Or maybe we could share this plant. You can take half and I'll take the other. There are different ways. Some people aren't patient enough. Some people are. So, yes.
Now, didn't you also have an experience with an owl? Or there were a couple of owls?
With owls, yes, fledglings. Nature's here at a risk, okay? Because they are predators and prey. And so out in nature, I'll see the birds, I'll see whomever shows up, and I'll ask. And they usually, or they always have a message for me. And the owls, I remember, they were like, here we are again, because they've been here before. And they were really looking forward to this particular life because they knew that there was more respect now compared to the last time they were here. So they were much more excited about expanding and spreading their wings out into the real world. And the message was, keep doing what you're doing because there has been a conscious shift. So more people are becoming more aware that there is something to all the life that we live among, all of the wildlife, all of nature, and it's learning to respect and maybe taking a different perspective on who they are and their purpose here.
I had a cousin that lived to be about 103, and she lived in Cloverdale out in the country, and she had 42 pet deer.
Oh my goodness!
That she would take care of, and she would feed them. And one time I was visiting her with my sons, and she handed us all fly swatters. And while we're sitting there, the deer would walk among us and just hit them with a fly swatter, hit the flies off of their noses and everything, and they didn't even blink. It was
my
incredible
goodness.
to see
Sure.
wild deer like that, especially it was in an area where people went deer hunting, but they knew her and they felt safe with her. And another thing that I thought was kind of funny and kind of interesting is she said she had stories about each one of the deer. She could tell you when they appeared and everything about them. And she said, some people think they all look alike. She said, that's like saying all the cows look alike. Well, I didn't tell her. To me, they did.
It's true. They're all different. They're all different. They have different personalities. They have different purposes to be here on the planet. And they're here to teach us, just like her sharing that with you. You actually stopped to think about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I'll take notice next time when you see the cows when you're driving along the side of the road. They are different. They do have different markings. Maybe they look all the same from the distance at one glance, but stopping and taking the time to consider them and who they are and their purpose, it starts to shift.
Well, like when you were talking about that scrub jay, you made it
Yes.
sound like you had seen him before. So did you
Yes.
recognize? So you recognized him.
Yes.
So all the birds don't look the same either.
No, they're all different. They're all different.
I was thinking about how people often have what you call post-traumatic stress disorder if something happens that scares them or that's abusive to them or what have you. And animals that are living in the wild often have predators,
Yes.
And so, but I've noticed with animals, it seems like they might get attacked or chased after by another animal, a predator, and then they get away. And then they let it go and they're just back to eating again and maybe looking around once in a while, But it's like, it doesn't seem like they carry that with them.
They live in the moment. That's the whole thing about
So
animals
that's
in
another
nature.
thing, I guess, that
live
they
in the
can teach
moment.
us.
Yes, living in the moment. We did talk about that. That's big, living in the moment. They are so in the moment. And they're very forgiving. And they're out in the wild, they're out in nature, and so they survive off of instinct. So they can't continuously live in fear. They really have to pay attention to their instinct. So that's living in the moment.
Well, now you told me that you came in contact with a coyote. Now, a lot of times that would probably kind of scare somebody in nature.
Yes,
so
it does sometimes.
So if you see an animal like this, what do you do so that it's not going to hurt you? I guess it's not going to hurt you unless you do something to antagonize it or if they're hungry.
Well, yes, it all depends on the circumstance. And sure, animals, if they're compromised, they could be aggressive. So of course you always, that's their natural instinct, is they want to protect themselves. I've had very positive experiences with coyotes. In Colorado, there was one that used to walk with me on the frozen lake. And one day she even crossed the lake to walk with me. So I thought, this is wonderful. And we walked together. And I respected her space, and she respected mine. And yes, there are coyotes here in Marin County, and I haven't encountered them. And I do know a lot of people fear them. Stay calm. Always be cautious. And yes, I asked, do you have a message? And this particular coyote was telling me, oh, that's where you got it, yes, that we have to watch our backs, okay? Because there are people who are fearful of them, and so they will choose to eliminate them, and it's not always necessary to do that. Yeah. So that was another piece of the message, was we are all one in spirit.
So do you think animals can sense when somebody's hunting them? They don't think it's just somebody just taking a walk that happens to be holding a gun.
Sure, animals can sense that. And I'm still learning about all of this too, because my father still hunts, and I've had venison. And many animals do know why they're here. And that's why it's so important to respect the food that we eat, the animals, the chicken, the deer, the beef. It's really important that they live a happy life while they're here, because they know what their purpose is, to feed us and nourish us. So that's why it's important what we feed them, okay, and how we treat them.
Because too, if the animal's really scared and they've been mistreated, and then you eat that animal, doesn't it seem like you're going to get extra adrenaline and
Yes,
that kind of thing?
You will. I've noticed that. I've noticed that myself, shopping for food, and I am really trying not to eat as much meat these days. I love protein. I love to eat meat. And I have noticed when I buy the free range versus the not free range, there's a big difference in the way I feel after I eat it. And I've done that on purpose to see what happens. And there is a big difference. And I'm going to say chickens. Happy chickens lay happy eggs. And the eggs are
well,
so
it all makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's good to just be conscious when you're in nature, to be noticing all these things. Because, you know, I think too, it's easy to be in nature and to maybe take it for granted or to not notice the details of some of the different things, you know.
That's true. Sometimes there are people who just like zip through nature and stop. Just stop. Just take a few moments to stop.
And be a part of it.
Yep.
That one spirit thing you're talking about.
You got it. And feel that connectedness that you have with the earth, because we're all connected. We're all connected. So it's really important to respect the earth that we live on, because she wants to respect us as well. And we want her respect.
And more people need to feel that way, because with littering and other things that people do to destroy our nature.
Exactly.
And maybe to think twice before cutting down a tree or whatever it happens to be.
Sure.
And maybe planting another one in its place.
And any little bit that we can do, if we can do our part, just what we do in our everyday life, that's really big. That's really big, and I think consciousness can shift.
So it sounds like we need to trust our instincts, and we can learn that from the animals, and to just be present, because that's why they're here. They're just being, right?
Yes. Have you ever tried to just be? Sometimes you're like, you want to be over there when you're here.
And then too, like you were saying about being calm, well, it's easier for some people than others to be calm, you know. I don't know if there's a tip to help people to be calm. Maybe just to ask the nature for it.
Yes, if you're feeling anxiety and you just like all out there, step outside, get quiet, take a breath, and connect with the tree, connect with the grass, the dirt, the beach, and just stand there just for a few moments and connect and get grounded. And I guarantee this, I can guarantee this, you will feel it. You will feel it.
Well, there are also studies that have been done to prove that just being outside in nature, it helps depression as much as an antidepressant.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. I go to the gym. I love going to the gym and I exercise, but when I'm out in nature, if the weather is really beautiful, I'm going to go take a hike or a walk. You got it. It's more fun.
Well, I hope we've motivated people to go out into nature, even if, if they live in the city, there's some place they can go to, a park or somewhere.
There are places.
Or maybe take a vacation in nature.
There you go. And
not forget when you're in nature to experience it and to be present and to thank it and to ask for the messages and to be conscious of all this.
Practice. Give it a shot. Connect. Ask for a gift and see what shows up.
Thank you so much. This has really been fun and interesting. And of course, I love nature myself, so I can really connect to this too.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
And thank you for joining us. I hope you'll be inspired to live more fully by learning how others approach spiritual experiences, helping each of us with our own spiritual path. So in the meantime, enjoy and share your spiritual connection to all of creation. And we'll see you next time on a forum on spirituality. always visit me, Vicki Saputo, at drsaputo.com to learn more about integrating body, mind, emotion, and spirit. If you've enjoyed the show and would like to see our archives and learn more about this program, go to aforumonspirituality.com.